My free hit is active ahead of blank game week 29, and it's time to reveal exactly what my draft is looking like alongside those essential players. As always, make sure you drop a like on the video and of course smash that subscribe button. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, we need to take a look at the teams that are actually playing in this blank game week because there aren't many great fixtures. You can see the four here: Burnley versus Brentford, Luton versus Forest, not the best, Fulham versus Spurs, and West Ham versus Aston Villa. So a big blank game week, which has meant managers like myself have had to activate their free hit because they only have 4 or 5 players available. Now, a few key points about the game week 29 free hit. First and foremost, if you haven't played Fantasy Premier League before, once you activate your free hit, you cannot cancel it. So don't be playing about with it. Once it's activated, you are locked in. Also, the free hit team is only for 1 game week, so you build your team with unlimited transfers within the budget that you've accumulated this season, and then once we get into game week 30, it will revert back to your original squad. Now, in terms of the fixtures in isolation, what we do need to take a note of is the midweek games. First up, West Ham have a Europa League second leg. Remember, they are 1-0 down against Freiburg that they need to overturn on Thursday the 14th. They do play on the Sunday, so there is a little bit of rest, but it isn't ideal preparation. The only good thing is that Aston Villa, the team they're playing against, also have a second leg Europa League fixture on the same night. Again, that one is a draw. They do need to obviously win at Villa Park for that game. So both teams are going to be a little bit leggy going into that Sunday game. The other thing we do need to consider is Luton's second double game week 28 fixture on Wednesday against Bournemouth. Again, not ideal preparation for their fixture on Saturday against Nottingham Forest. So a lot of things can happen between now and then, but the perfect thing about the free hit draft is you can make unlimited transfers. So if you were to bring in a Luton player and then he was to get injured midweek, we can simply take him out for another appealing asset. So those are the fixtures. On the face of it, they don't look great, but I do think there is still real upside with this free hit in this game week. But the one thing that does stand out, I don't see many clean sheets over these fixtures. So next up, let's go into the players that are absolutely essential for your free hit draft. So I think there are 6 players that are absolutely essential for any free hit 29 draft, and you can see them on your screens here. So I don't think that any goalkeepers that are essential. As I mentioned, I don't see any clean sheets this game week, so naturally the goalkeeper department is a little bit sparse. I think we're really looking at goalkeepers who are going to be accumulating saves, so we'll come on to that when we get to my draft. The only defender that I think is essential is going to be Doughty at Luton. Again, I'm not expecting a clean sheet, but a home fixture for Doughty, who is pretty much their main creative force in the team on all set pieces. And I do think if Luton are going to win the game, I could see Doughty playing a heavy part in that. So he's the only one that I think offers real attacking upside in all of the defenders. There are Spurs defenders, Udogie and Pedro Porro, that I think are great. However, I do think there is an argument that we could go triple Spurs attack. Therefore, I haven't put their defenders as essential in a draft. Now, moving into the midfielders, Son is just an absolute given. While he's playing as the number 9, we've seen it in game week 28. He is just an unbelievable asset. He's playing every single minute, and we saw that again with that 91st minute goal. He's just the epitome of FPL value, and he's just essential and likely a captain for a lot of managers. The one that I really do like as a little bit of a differential is going to be James Maddison, a player that maybe some managers can't get to if they're not free hitting. And the big thing that we do need to note, every single away game James Maddison has returned. I checked it out earlier and he's on a ridiculous run. So clearly the game plan that Andrew's putting out in away games really does benefit James Maddison. And we saw that once again in game week 28. So I really like the idea of having James Maddison. And I think he is by far and away the second best Spurs asset to have for your free hit team. The last midfielder is going to be Jarrod Bowen. A little bit controversial because he hasn't been in good form recently. And it isn't on penalties with Paqueta taking those responsibilities. So a lot of things don't really add up here. However, guaranteed game time, and I always back Jarrod Bowen in home games. I know he hasn't necessarily performed of late, but I do still think he is the number 1 West Ham player. And when we do look at those fixtures, I think he is one of the few midfielders who does have that really high ceiling that could deliver double-digit points. Might be a bit controversial, but I still think Jarrod Bowen is essential in our free hit drafts. And last up, the forwards. Watkins, don't really have to explain that one. A little bit worrying for Aston Villa in that game against Spurs. I think they really did get exploited in certain areas, but I do think Watkins is still essential in your teams. Just a no-brainer, I think, in terms of guaranteed minutes. But of course, we do need to monitor that Europa League second leg. And last up's going to be Ivan Toney. I think he's a really good differential. I think some managers who aren't free hitting can get there if they sell Haaland or a Dominic Solanke, but I really like Toney for just a 1 week punt. Burnley away, just do not keep clean sheets. We've seen that week in, week out with that last minute goal conceded against West Ham. And I think Toney's been a little bit under par recently, but I'm expecting a reaction from Brentford and Ivan Toney in this game. And again, on penalties just makes him such an easy pick for our free hit team. So those are the essentials. Let's move on to the differentials and then my draft reveal. So next up, the free hit differentials. And as you saw with the free hit essentials, we have a couple of midfield spots available, 1 forward spot and tons of defenders. But to be honest with you, as I mentioned, I don't think there is much value in the defenders and goalkeepers this game week. So I think we really need to put our focus on getting the right differential midfielder or forward alongside those big picks. And we've got 3 options here. West Ham's Kudos, Alanga and Nottingham Forest both being midfielders, and Fulham's Muniz being that budget forward at 4.5 million. So first up, I want to kick off on the midfielders. Kudos and Alanga, both very, very cheap. And to be honest with you, when we're building these free hit teams, we have so much money in the bank. We could spend all the money and we're still going to have tons left. So Kudos firstly. I think the big thing we need to ask ourselves is, do we want to double up on that West Ham attack? I think a lot is going to come off the back of that Europa League game against Freiburg. Are we going to see extra time? We're going to see all of these attackers just getting run into the ground. If that's the case, I think we are just naturally going to move away from double West Ham attack. But Kudos is a player that I really like just in general. His numbers aren't amazing. 0.19 XG per 90, 0.13 expected assists per 90. Like, that does not scream out amazing value to me, especially when we're looking to real have upside in these free hit drafts. But he is a player that I just look at each and every game. We can think you're the one that's going to create something for your team, even if his numbers don't necessarily suggest it. So it's a bit more of like a heart pick, this one, but I think he's great. Now, if you want to go maybe a safer pick, I do think Paqueta is probably safer on penalties at West Ham, just as guaranteed in terms of game time. I think he's equally a great option, but I just have a slight affiliation with Kudos. But the big question is, double West Ham attack, is that where we want to go? Alanga's one that really excites me, but slightly different, where I'm a little bit worried about his game time. He was a substitute in game week 28, but previous to that, his minutes were really, really good. 5.5 million, as I mentioned. Money doesn't really matter in these free hit drafts, but the numbers are really good. 0.29 XG per 90 and 0.26 expected assists per 90. So he is the real creative force in this Nottingham Forest team. Again, similar to the Kudos situation, if you want to go safe with Forest, I probably would advise go for Gibbs White. I think being on penalties, guaranteed game time, he's the real creative force in that Forest team. I do think he is a great pick also, but I'm looking at the goal scorer, and I do see that with Alanga, the way that he does stretch the pitch. It's just whether they have those opportunities against that Luton team away from home. Need to do a little bit more research on that, but right now, Alanga is the pick of the Nottingham Forest bunch. It's just the minutes that we do need to be careful of. And last off, probably the one that I'm most excited about being a differential is going to be Muniz, 4.5 million, and he is a player that he is going to go the whole season without us owning, and maybe the one that we all missed out on. Look at the numbers, 0.38 XG per 90, 0.15 expected assists. Now, albeit the minutes have been half that of Kudos and Alanga, but these are some really solid numbers. And he's also brilliant on the bonus points at 0.93 per 90. I think maybe some are saying, is his time up in the Fulham team? Will he come out? But I don't really see it right now. Armando Broja come on as a substitute. I don't think he's done enough. And the big thing was, Broja didn't come on and replace Muniz. He came on and replaced Iwobi. So I don't think there are any concerns right now necessarily about Muniz coming out of the team, which is a big factor we need to think of. So for me, I think they're all great differentials. I really think Muniz is the one that if we want to go for the ultimate punt, then maybe he is the man to go for based on these underlying numbers. But I equally do think Alanga, if we can get those minutes confirmed, maybe by the manager come the press conference, that could be the ultimate upside in that midfield spot. So time for the Game Week 29 free hit team reveal, and we got to kick it off with the goalkeepers. As I've previously discussed, this is one of the toughest spots for the free hit because I just don't envisage many clean sheets, if any at all. Currently leaning towards Flecken away against Burnley, mainly because of the fixture. Burnley historically this season have been low scorers. I know they scored 2 against West Ham, but everybody scores against West Ham, it seems, this season. And I do think when you go for a free hit, sometimes it is worth doubling down on defence. While other managers are probably not going to be able to get there if they're not free hitting, if you can get the right defence, double down on it and they keep a clean sheet, then that is really where the value is going to come from a free hit. So my current affiliation is with Brentford away against Burnley. If they don't keep the clean sheet, I do think save points is a potential thing for Flecken. Kaminsky is the sub goalkeeper. Again, it could be anybody. And there is an argument that Kaminsky could be the goalkeeper because he is historically very good for save points and bonus points. And I think the fixture's okay, but I do back Forest to score. So for that very reason, Kaminsky is on the bench and Flecken is the goalkeeper. Moving into those defenders, and again, similar to the goalkeeper area, we are struggling for picks here, but I think I've landed on the best three. So first up, the essential and Doughty. We've spoken about that already. Pedro Porro is in. I was flirting between maybe having triple Spurs attack, but I just couldn't narrow down on exactly which one. I think Kulusevski is the one for guaranteed minutes, but I'm not huge on him in terms of offensive numbers. And then we got the punts like a Timo Werner or a Brennan Johnson. But once again, I just couldn't guarantee those minutes in this fixture. And I know Pedro Porro is going to play 90 minutes against a Fulham team who are scoring goals. And that is the big problem with the Spurs defence. I don't necessarily think that they're incredible defensively. And I think Fulham on a bit of a goal scoring run right now. So Pedro Porro is in, but I don't love it for a clean sheet perspective. So he could be in there for those bonus points and maybe the occasional attack and return. But I'm currently leaning towards Pedro Porro. The other one's going to be Reguilon. Now, he is currently yellow flagged, but we did see the press conference and we did suggest that he is going to be available for game week 29 against Burnley. So while we have that assumption, he is in the team because I do believe he is the best Brentford defender while available. But as we discussed, if we are going for the free hit, I do want to double down on one defence. And I'm currently leaning towards Brentford. If Reguilon's ruled out, Rosselev, the right wing back, is a consideration at a cheaper price of 4.4 million. So as of right now, I'm going for the double Brentford defence, but this could easily flip to maybe Kaminsky in goal and we double down on the Luton defence. Maybe let me know in the comments which defence you would go for. In terms of defenders on the bench, currently got Robinson of Fulham and West Ham's Kufal, but again, I just think there are such poor options this game week. I really want something like a Matty Cash maybe to put his hand up, but I just have no guarantees that he is going to start for Aston Villa. So got Robinson and Kufal, but again, maybe a bit more research will suggest another player is available, but I think these are the best three as of right now. Taking a look at our midfielders, we've got the essentials in there in James Maddison, Son and Jarrod Bowen, but I currently lean towards Nottingham Forest's Langer. Now that might be a surprise to people because we looked at the differential section and maybe Kudos was a bit more appealing for guaranteed minutes, but I think Langer's a real good differential this week. Now again, it's going to totally come down to guaranteed minutes. Is there a suggestion that maybe he's kind of fallen out of love with the team structure? Maybe. So I need to do a little bit more digging, keep an eye on the press conferences. But when I do build a free hit team, I'm looking at it thinking to myself, I think Son's going to be highly owned, Bowen's going to be highly owned. I think managers might lean towards Maddison this week. Who is the player that they definitely can't get to? And I think Langer is definitely one of those. And in terms of goal threat, he is the main man in that Nottingham Forest team outside of the likes of Awoni up top. So currently going for Langer, but if I do hear anything where he is a doubt, maybe just from minutes or injury, then I will straight away take him out of the team and maybe that will become a Kudos and I double down on that West Ham attack. Because also it's worth noting, I didn't put him in the differentials because I think he's quite highly owned. He's going to be Leon Bailey. You can see him first sub here. I think he's a great pick and he definitely could come into this team, but equally, could I see him start the Europa League game and then maybe play limited minutes in this fixture? I think that's also a possibility for somebody like a Leon Bailey who historically does come off early. So there are minutes risks with all of these picks. The logical pick is I just go for Gibbs, White or Paqueta, get those guaranteed minutes and importantly the penalty taker in those teams. But as of right now, I'm looking at the team and thinking, where can I get that real upside? And I think that fourth midfielder in the shape of a Langer is currently that player. But I feel like it is a player that I could easily get spooked off. So, of course, I will monitor any press conferences on that one. The rest of the midfield, I think, is an obvious pick, though. Last up, taking a look at the forwards. Watkins, Toney, as we already suggested, are essentials in a free hit team. But I currently go for Morris at home against Nottingham Forest. Now, we spoke about my love for Muniz. I think he's brilliant as an option. But my one concern is, when we're building a free hit team, yes, I'm looking for that upside, but I also know that a lot of the community have brought in Colton Morris over the last few game weeks. And I think him being a penalty taker and with decent underlying numbers and a good fixture, I think I'll just kick myself if I don't put him in the team. He then ends up scoring a brace, knowing that people that haven't free hitted have got him in the team. That could undo all of the good work that maybe this free hit might do with the likes of a Langer and the defenders. And for that very reason, from a shield perspective, I think Morris is just an automatic pick in the teams. I would love to be a bit braver, maybe go for a Muniz, but I just think Morris has the ability to really hurt this free hit team if I don't go for him. So for that very reason, I think the forwards just have to remain template. Therefore, Tony, Watkins and Morris are the three that is likely going to be my free hit team. Looking at captaincy, maybe this is the opportunity to really get that upside. I think it is a game week where maybe captaincy dictates how you get on, even for those that are free hitting. So I'm looking at it right now, and the only ones that I feel really confident about captaining are going to include Son and Tony. Outside of that, I don't really feel confident about any other player. Tony being on penalties is pretty much the main pool, but Son, in this form right now, since he's come back from injury, away from home against a Fulham team who don't necessarily keep loads of clean sheets, I think that's just going to be the natural pick. And of course, being a midfielder as well, getting that extra point for a goal, I think is really big. I think I just look at the rest of the players. I just don't have any confidence in anybody else. And for that very reason, I think Son is not only going to be my captain, but probably the biggest captaincy pick of the game week. But importantly, let me know in the comments, who is your captain going to be for this weekend? Yes, guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's video. I will be doing a final free hit draft reveal on Friday after all the press conferences and importantly, that midweek football. So make sure you do stick around for that, as there may be a few changes depending on those results. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please do consider dropping a like and of course, smashing that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Cheers.